Hello everyone, welcome to LIV lecture series featuring point categories, the Back-Shu points. The importance of the Back-Shu or transporting points in treatment cannot be overemphasized. They are particularly important for the treatment of chronic diseases, and indeed one may go so far as to say that a chronic disease cannot be treated without using these points at some time during the course of treatment. The Chinese character, the Shu, denoting these points means to transport, indicating that they transport qi to the inner organs. Each point takes its name from the corresponding organ. For example, Xin means heart, and Xin Shu is the back transporting or the Back-Shu for the heart. There is a Back-Shu point for each of the yin and yang organs. They are located on the back, on the bladder channel, 1.5 cun from the midline, level with an intervertebral space. The Back-Shu points are, for the lungs, we have bladder 13, pericardium, bladder 14, the heart, bladder 15, liver, bladder 18, gallbladder, bladder 19, spleen, bladder 20, stomach, bladder 21, triple burner, bladder 22, kidneys, bladder 23, large intestine, bladder 25, small intestine, bladder 27, and the bladder, bladder 28. In addition to these points, there are a few others which are situated on the bladder channel, very close to the Back-Shu points, but are not related to organs. They are related to parts of the body or channels. These are, for the governing vessel, we have bladder 16, diaphragm, bladder 17, sea of qi, bladder 24. For the lower back and uterus, we have bladder 26, sacrum, bladder 29, and the anus, bladder 30. The Back-Shu points affect the organs directly and are therefore used in interior diseases of the yin or yang organs. This is a very important aspect of the clinical effect of these points. They act in quite a different way than all the other points. When treating the internal organs, other points work by stimulating the qi of the channel, which then flows along the channel like a wave, eventually reaching the internal organs. When we needle the Back-Shu points, the qi goes directly to the relevant organ, not through the intermediary of its channel. For this reason, we usually retain the needle in these points a shorter time than for other body points, usually no longer than 10 minutes when used to tonify in an adult. The Back-Shu points can be used in both acute or chronic conditions, but are more frequently used in chronic ones. The Back-Shu points are yang in character and are especially used to tonify the yang. However, they can be used for deficiency of yin as well. Chapter 67 of the Classic of Difficulties says, yin diseases move to the yang area. Yang diseases move to the yin area. The front collecting or the mu points are situated on the yin surface and therefore treat yang diseases. The Back-Shu points are situated on the yang surface and therefore treat yin diseases. According to this statement, the Back-Shu points would be used to treat yin diseases and the front mu points yang diseases. Yin diseases can mean either diseases of the yin organs or diseases characterized by cold. This would therefore mean that the Back-Shu points would be used to tonify the yin organs and to warm. Conversely, yang diseases can mean either diseases of the yang organs or diseases characterized by heat. This would therefore mean that the front mu points would be used to nourish yin or to clear heat. These guidelines are certainly valid, but they should not be adhered to too rigidly. In other words, the Back-Shu points can also be used to tonify the yin organs and clear heat, and conversely, the front Mu points can be used also to tonify the yang and to warm. Yet another interpretation of yin or yang diseases could be that of chronic and acute diseases, respectively. In this interpretation, the Back-Shu points would be used for yin diseases, that is, chronic diseases, and the front Mu points for yang diseases, that is, acute diseases. Although this rule should not be interpreted rigidly, it is certainly a valid rule which finds a widespread clinical application. That is, using the Back-Shu points for chronic and the front Mu points for acute diseases. The various uses of the Back-Shu and the front Mu points are summarized in this table. Another characteristic of these points is that they are used to affect the sense organ of the corresponding organ. For example, bladder 18 is the back transporting point of the liver and can be used for eye diseases. In practice, the Back-Shu or the back transporting points tend to produce a stronger effect than the front Mu points. They are therefore very useful when the patient feels very tired, exhausted, or depressed. In these cases, if the stomach and spleen are deficient, for example, the use of bladder 20 and bladder 21 will produce a strong tonifying effect. The use of bladder 17 and bladder 19, in Chinese called the four flowers, also has a strong tonifying effect on qi and blood. The point bladder 23 should be used in any deficiency of the kidneys, particularly kidney yang, as it strongly tonifies the kidneys. Although the Back-Shu points are mostly used to tonify the organs, they can also be used in excess patterns to expel pathogenic factors. In particular, they can be used to subdue rebellious qi and clear heat. For example, the point bladder 21 can be used to subdue rebellious stomach qi in case of belching, nausea, or vomiting. The point bladder 18 can be used to move stagnant liver qi. Bladder 15 can be used to clear heart fire, and bladder 13 to stimulate the diffusing and descending of lung qi and release the exterior. The back transporting points can also be used for diagnostic purposes, as they become tender on pressure or even spontaneously tender when the corresponding organ is diseased. The spiritual axis discusses this and other aspects of the Back-Shu points in chapter 51. The back transporting point for the center of the thorax is below the tip of the big vertebra, so the 214. That for the lungs is below the third vertebra. That for the heart, below the fifth vertebra. That for the diaphragm, below the seventh vertebra. That for the liver, below the ninth vertebra. That for the spleen, below the 11th vertebra. That for the kidneys, below the 14th vertebra. All of them are situated 1.5 tsun from the spine. Soreness is relieved on pressing on these points. Moxa is applied on these points, never needling. In order to tonify them, one lets the moxa cones burn out on the skin slowly. In order to sedate them, one blows on the moxa cones and then puts them out quickly. This passage establishes the use of the Back-Shu points in diagnosis when they become tender on pressure. The last statement could seem surprising as it forbids the needling of these points, which are needled so frequently in practice. The prevalent view is that prohibiting the needling of these points was an overcautious attitude so that they would not be needled too deeply. In fact, these points, and especially those on the upper part, should not be needled deeply because of possible injury to the lungs. They should be needled quite superficially, but not just under the skin, and obliquely towards the midline. Another point of interest in this passage is the mention of a method of moxibustion for drainage, contrary to the prevalent idea that moxibustion is generally used for tonification only. In addition to the above line of back transporting points along the bladder channel, there are also 6 other points on the outer line of the bladder channel on the back, which are particularly important. These are bladder 42, door of the corporeal soul, level with bladder 13. Bladder 43, Kawang transporting point, level with bladder 14. Bladder 44, hall of the mind, level with bladder 15. Bladder 47, door of the ethereal soul, level with bladder 18. Bladder 49, house of the mind, level with bladder 20. Bladder 52, room of willpower, level with bladder 23. With the exception of bladder 43, the other 5 points exert a special effect on the corresponding mental aspect of each of the 5 yin organs. That is, the corporeal soul, the Po of the lungs, mind, Shen of the heart, ethereal soul, Hun of the liver, intellect, Yi of the spleen, and willpower, Shu of the kidneys. The explanation of the acupuncture point says that these points are like a window, door, or gate. It says that the 5 yin organs are stored or hidden, but this can be seen from the outside at these points. These points can therefore be used in emotional and psychological problems of the relevant yin organs. It is strange that in spite of their names linking these points to spiritual aspects of the 5 yin organs, the old texts do not report many mental emotional indications for these points. However, these points do have a profound mental emotional effect. Bladder 42, Poa Hu, can be used for deep emotional problems related to sadness or grief affecting the lungs. Bladder 44, Shen Tong, can be used for emotional problems related to the heart, causing anxiety and insomnia, in particular if due to heart fire or heart empty heat. Bladder 47, Hunmen, can be used to help a person find a sense of direction in life. It is very useful in certain cases of depression when the person feels confused and unable to plan his or her life. This point is also effective to treat other emotional problems related to the liver, manifesting with mood swings, a feeling of frustration, resentment, and anger. This point can both stimulate when the person is depressed or restrain the movement of the ethereal soul when the person is manic. Bladder 49, Yi Sha, can be used in patients who exceed in mental work or who are prone to pensiveness. Bladder 52, Zhi Shi, can be used for kidney deficiency, manifesting with great exhaustion, depression, lack of willpower, and a feeling of powerlessness and hopelessness. The action of these points is stronger if they are combined with the relevant Back-Shu points of the corresponding yin organ. For example, bladder 23 and bladder 52 for the kidneys. The point bladder 43, Kauhong. The point bladder 43, Kawangshu, is the back transporting point for the area between the heart and the diaphragm, which is called Kawang. However, its use can only be understood by referring to the other meaning of Kawang. In a broader sense, Kawang also indicates the site of any disease which is chronic and very difficult, if not impossible, to treat. This point is therefore used in very chronic diseases, particularly of the lungs, and especially lung iron deficiency. Historically, it was used for tuberculosis of the lungs. We use the back transporting points or the Back-Shu points after using and retaining the needles in the front of the body. We would usually retain the body points approximately 20 minutes in an adult, withdraw them, ask the patient to turn over, and then use the Back-Shu points. We generally leave these points in a shorter time, that is no longer than 10 minutes in an adult, whether we are tonifying or draining. In order to drain pathogenic factors through these points, we use needling. To tonify the relevant organs through these points, we use needling to nourish blood and yin and direct moxocones to tonify qi and yang. Urinary bladder 13. Fei-Shu, Lang-Shu. Location on the back, 1.5 tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the third thoracic vertebra. Strengthens lung qi, spreads and descends lung qi, regulates lung qi, opens the chest, clears lung heat, stops cough. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. Back-Shu points connect directly with the associated Zhang-Fu, thus accessing the qi of the official at a deep level. Transporting in their name indicates the movement of qi to and from the organ. They are potent points, strongly affecting and regulating the qi of each official. They particularly affect the organ qi more than the qi of the meridian, and they are especially useful in chronic or interior disease and exhaustion. There is a Back-Shu point for each Zhang and Fu plus 4 others, which relate to parts of the body or functions. It is interesting that it is on the Taiyang, the most exterior of the 6 divisions of yin-yang, this far-reaching yang meridian, that the Back-Shu points are found, which work at the depths of the organs and both store and transport the qi necessary for life. It is a reminder of the wide-ranging breadth and depth of the bladder meridian territory and of the control and influence of the bladder in relation to the other officials. To strongly tonify a particular official organ, the Back-Shu points can be combined with the front Mu points to support from both front and back. According to Machocha, they are used to affect the sense organ of the corresponding organ. Many traditions of acupuncture palpate the Back-Shu points to see if they are tender, indicating imbalance in the corresponding organ. Bladder 13 regulates and unites the functioning of the lung at all levels of body, mind, and spirit. This point can be used in interior and exterior, acute and chronic symptomatology of the lungs. Bladder 13 tonifies the lung when ongoing grief and sadness or a sense of deprivation depletes, dries up, and withers the lung qi. It can be used to promote the proper functioning of the lung, to inspire, inhale, and enrich one's life with vitality, and to condense what is precious. Bladder 13 is used to reanimate mental inertia and fortify the lung qi where there is constitutional weakness, a weak voice, chronic deficiency, and exhaustion. Fei-Shu nourishes the receiver of qi when there is exhaustion of the lungs through overwork, insufficient exercise, poor posture, or fever affecting the lungs, eventually leading to atrophy of the lungs and consumption. By its effect on the lung, it helps tonify and regulate the upper jaw. Bladder 13 descends and disseminates lung qi and thus releases the exterior, expels wind cold, wind heat, and can be used for asthma, cough, breathlessness. Bladder 13 clears heat from the lung, used in acute conditions when there is heat at the chi level or to clear phlegm or chest pain. Urinary bladder 14, Ganshu. Location on the back, 1.5 tsun, lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the fourth thoracic vertebra. Back-Shu point of the pericardium. Functions: regulates the heart, smooths liver qi, frees the chest. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. Bladder 14 helps relieve sadness and melancholia. This point tonifies and regulates the functioning of the heart protector, or the pericardium, and thereby regulates the heart. The heart protector acts as the ambassador of the heart, communicating with the other officials on behalf of the heart throughout the realm of the body, as well as enveloping and protecting the heart. It does this physically as the pericardium. At the level of the mind and spirit, it deflects possible taxation or vexation of the heart. If the heart protector is weakened, either from the emotional impact of heartbreak, loneliness, sadness, or chronic problems with the blood and circulation, it can become worn down, leaving the heart itself exposed, vulnerable, and defenseless. The name of this point draws attention to the Zhuyin, the pericardium-liver division of the 6 divisions of yin-yang. When there is deficiency of the pericardium and the liver, and consequently with the blood, it is hard for the heart to be calm. It is so closely identified with blood, emotional lability can result. Zhuyin regulates blood. Pericardium provides the animating network, the mai, and liver restructures and stores the blood. This can be a great point to use to strengthen the pericardium, both for fragility of mind and spirit, and all the warming, moisturizing, and strengthening properties of blood. When there is stagnation of liver qi from whatever cause, there is frequently pain, binding of the hypochondrium, depression, restlessness, agitation, and lack of joy. Ganshu expands and relaxes the chest, regulates and tonifies the heart. Bladder 14 spreads liver qi, unbinds the chest, regulates and descends rebellious qi. Urinary bladder 15, Shu, heart shu. On the back, 1.5 tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 5th thoracic vertebra, the Back-Shu point of the heart. Functions: strengthens and nourishes the heart, calms the shen, regulates heart qi, opens the chest, resolves blood stagnation, clears heart heat or fire. Bladder 15 is one of the best points for insomnia and anxiety, especially if the pattern is due to heat. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. The Back-Shu point of the heart is obviously an important point. It is a direct connection to the Supreme Controller, the Emperor Zhang. As such, it must be treated with respect. However, if anything, this point is underused. The heart and shen need harmony. If the heart comes under assault, whether from brokenheartedness, emotional distress, or blood deficiency, control is lost. Chaos, anxiety and disorientation, and possibly hysteria replace calm. Use Shu for exhaustion and deficiency of the heart, which has not recovered, with less direct treatment. To re-establish the heart in control, a direct approach is sometimes necessary. The heart can be restored and nourished after heart shock or collapse with moxa, provided there are no contraindications, and needle at Shu. Shu regulates and tonifies the heart and the natural movement of fire, which rises. When the heart is depleted, there is sadness, desperation, depression. The expansion and radiance that is natural to the heart is lost. Bladder 15 calms the spirit and can be used for nervous anxiety and insomnia. It strengthens and clears the brain, especially when used with moxa. It can have a good effect in stimulating the consciousness and brain. It can be used for children with mental retardation or slow development of speech. The tongue is under the control of the heart. When there is insufficient blood or yin to nourish and root the shen, then the heart cannot house the shen and becomes restless, anxious, agitated. This point expands and relaxes the chest by resolving stagnation of blood. It invigorates the blood and can be used for pain in the chest from blood stagnation and poor memory from blood deficiency. Bladder 15 regulates the upper burner and tonifies, gathering qi. Heat in the blood and heart fire can cause emotional excess, mania, insomnia, excessive dreaming, and can severely disrupt the heart, particularly when combined with phlegm, which blocks the orifices. Bladder 15 transforms heart phlegm and cools heat. Urinary bladder 18, Ganshu, liver shu. Location, on the back 1.5 tsun, lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 9th thoracic vertebra. Back-Shu point of the liver. Functions, moves stagnant liver qi, regulates and nourishes liver blood, resolves damp heat, benefits the eyes and sinews, dispels wind. Bladder 18 is very helpful for any liver-related condition. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. Back-Shu points help harmonize and regulate the body-mind-spirit of their related official. So, if the mind is lagging behind the body, or vice versa, they can be great points to use. If someone's wood element is out of balance, they may conceive a million plans, but never find the wherewithal to initiate any of them. Or they may forge their own way in life so strongly, they never find long-term companionship because they are not flexible enough to accommodate another person's space. The liver distributes and regulates the quantity of blood and invigorates the body, mind, and spirit, with particular responsibility for the muscular forces. If the liver, the general, who plans and strategizes, is lethargic or hyperactive, planning at every level of our being and assessment of circumstances can go awry. The liver in health is all about free flow and making things start to move and grow. When the liver has become imbalanced and there is a lack of free flow of emotion, qi and or blood, then frustration, anger, lack of appropriate anger, inhibition, depression, lack of vision, and hope can all occur. Without hope and flexibility of body, mind, and spirit, the nature of wood can become curmudgeonly, further isolating the individual. The Back-Shu point, with its direct connection to the Zhang, can greatly assist in revitalizing this official and restoring the movement so vital to the nature of wood. Rectifying deficiency, whether of blood or qi, benefits the sinews and helps with cramping, stiffness, poor memory, and agitation. Without this help, rigidity of ideas and limbs, constriction of spirit, and musculature may develop. The Back-Shu points are said to affect the related sense organ. The general of the armed forces official needs to be able to project their presence a long way, as well as being far-seeing on many levels. The liver opens into the eye. It is the way the movement of qi, that is, the liver, exteriorizes itself. This point can be used for eye problems. It helps poor vision, poor night vision, floaters, red eyes, itchy eyes, whether from issues of blood deficiency or liver iron deficiency. This point can be used in nearly all conditions affecting the liver. Stagnation of liver qi can cause distension of the epigastrium, hypochondriac area, sour regurgitation. Bladder 18 clears damp heat jaundice or cholecystitis when stagnation of liver qi affects the gallbladder. Bladder 18 benefits, regulates, and tonifies the liver and gallbladder, resolves damp heat, moves stagnant qi, benefits the eyes, benefits the sinews, eliminates wind. Urinary bladder 19, Ganshu, gallbladder Shu. Location: on the back, 1.5 tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 10th thoracic vertebra. Back-Shu point of the gallbladder. Functions: regulates and strengthens gallbladder qi, resolves gallbladder, liver damp heat, clears Shaoyang pathogens. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. Bladder 19 is a powerful point to harmonize and strengthen the upright official of decision and judgment. All officials need to be uncontaminated to work at their best, but the gallbladder particularly suffers if it is not pure. It is an extraordinary food. It stores what is clear. Minute but potentially momentous judgments and decisions within the body, mind, and spirit are being taken at every moment of one's life. If all the potential far-seeing of the wood element cannot be brought to a moment of decision, then hesitation, shakiness, and frustration result rather than action and growth. It is frustrating for those around the person, but far more so for the person themselves. Alternatively, only making snap judgments without an ability to reflect and know that one's decision is correct, both factually and morally, can lead to an inner lack of coordination and cooperation. If the gallbladder is deficient, there can be fearfulness. This is called small gallbladder timidity, an inability to assert oneself and make decisions, or conversely, inappropriate irritation and anger. This can have a knock-on effect around the Shang cycle, leading to palpitations and insomnia and anxiety from the heart. If the gallbladder is struggling, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. gallbladder time may bring insomnia and agitation rather than relief. Conversely, when the gallbladder is calm, strong, and determined, then one forges a path in life with courage and with no opening for attack from pathogens or hindrances. Using bladder 19 to bring the gallbladder official into better balance also helps to regulate and harmonize the relationship with the liver. Good point for clearing damp heat to which the gallbladder is prone, whether from overconsumption of greasy, heat-inducing foods or from a breakdown in the co-cycle relationship with the earth element. Typically, there will be a bitter taste in the mouth, possibly yellow eyes, distension in the chest or lateral costal region, and inappropriate anger, resentment, or lack of anger. The balancing properties of this point, bladder 19, can correct the relationship between the gallbladder and stomach and make it useful for pacifying the stomach when there is vomiting. From its location, it can help relax the diaphragm and ease hiccups and distension of the epigastric area from liver qi stagnation. Urinary bladder 20, Back-Shu, spleen Shu. Location on the back, 1.5 tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 11th thoracic vertebra. Back-Shu point of the spleen. Functions: tonifies spleen, stomach qi and yang, nourishes blood, resolves dampness, regulates spleen, stomach qi. Needling, oblique insertion 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. As the official in charge of transforming and transporting, the spleen works ceaselessly. In the central region of the body, it oversees all the exchanges within an individual and distributes nourishment to the extremities of the body, mind, and spirit. It shapes the form of our flesh, our thoughts, our blood. The spleen presides over the blood and thereby warms the zang. Bladder 20 is an excellent point to restore balance and invigorate the spleen functioning, particularly its role of transforming and transporting. Any form of spleen deficiency at whatever level of our being, whether from overwork, overthinking, or lack of self-nourishment, can be helped with this point. Tiredness, loose stools, no appetite, abdominal distension, prolapse, mental stodginess. It tonifies qi and blood when the person is exhausted and can be useful in nearly all chronic disease where there is spleen deficiency involved. It is often combined with bladder 21, the Back-Shu point of the stomach, to strengthen the root of post-heavenly essence. This point stimulates the natural ascending movement of the spleen. Bladder 21 stimulates the natural descending movement of the qi of the stomach, and hence they are frequently used together to regulate the middle jiao. This natural ascending movement of the spleen in health is important to remember, as so many imbalances relating to the spleen show us graphically when this isn't functioning, when our flesh collapses in prolapse, or our minds are bogged down with damp and our thoughts no longer penetrate. When the spleen is deficient, or its relationship with fluids and humidity has become imbalanced, people complain of muzzy head, heavy limbs and body. They have no get up and go, and their mind becomes dulled. Little enthusiasm is felt for life or any project. Thought can become obsessive or unable to extend from the individual's own center to consider things from another's perspective. Spleen is the origin of blood, and by tonifying this point, the blood can be nourished. The transporter of qi is also charged with holding the blood in the vessels, and this point will assist leakage of blood in the stools or excessive menstruation. By regulating the middle jiao, bladder 20 can help harmonize the relationships between both stomach and spleen, and the co-cycle relationship between earth and wood. Urinary bladder 21. Wei Shu. Stomach Shu. Location: on the back 1.5 tsun, lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 12th thoracic vertebra. Back-Shu point of the stomach. Functions: regulates and harmonizes stomach qi, resolves dampness, alleviates food stagnation. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. The official which rots and ripens food, whether physical, emotional, and or spiritual, which enables us to process, digest information, and nourish ourselves, can be directly stimulated with bladder 21. Over-digesting, over-processing, circular thinking can all be helped. When the stomach and spleen are depleted, undernourished, or stuck in a rut, an individual may show signs of not being able to get started on things or not being able to stop. They may crave the center of attention or may lose their sense of self, unable to store their own nourishment, identity, their own center. These two officials work so closely together that bladder 20 and bladder 21 are frequently both used in one treatment. The stomach, the sea of liquids and cereals, receives nourishment, ideas. By rotting and ripening, the stomach breaks down what is essential to life, which is then distributed by the spleen. Working well together, they grant the ability to experience and absorb the essences and 5 tastes that maintain life. In health, there is an ability to encounter and embrace others without either losing one's equilibrium or having to completely absorb or control the other. The virtue of earth is sincerity and dependability. When the person can trust their earth element, then change is manageable. When stomach qi ascends, causing belching, reflux of food, hiccups, or vomiting, this point stimulates the descending of stomach qi, the natural direction for it. So, bladder 21 helps when there is retention of food, leading to distension and pain of the stomach region. Bladder 21 regulates, tonifies, harmonizes the stomach, descends rebellious qi, pacifies the stomach, relieves retention of food, harmonizes the middle jiao, resolves damp. Urinary bladder 22. Sun jiao's vital role in orchestrating and providing a context for all the transmissions within a being makes tremendous demands upon it. When healthy, it facilitates harmonious and comfortable adjustments and regulation of body, mind, and spirit. When exhausted, its ability to harmonize is impaired. Temperature throughout the body, mind, and spirit can blow hot and cold. Erratic social behavior, temperature fluctuations, and emotional lability can ensue. Sun Jiao Shu, with its direct effect upon the official and ability to harmonize at the level of the body, mind, and spirit of the Sun Jiao, serves to strengthen and tonify the functioning of the Sanjiao within itself. The Sanjiao official is in charge of irrigation and controls the water passages. It is responsible for the harmonization of the three jiao, or burning spaces, and the regulation of fluids through the jiao, hence its ability to resolve damp. If communication between the jiao is interrupted, the excretion of waste is irregular, and the stagnation of fluids may lead to accumulations and masses. It can also adversely affect the functioning of any of the zangfu within the three jiao. This point regulates the lower burner's function of keeping open the water passages so that waste fluids can be excreted. Part of this role resolves damp in the lower burner and so helps with retention of urine and edema in the lower half of the body. Bladder 22 regulates, tonifies, and harmonizes the triple heater, resolves damp, resolves masses, opens the water passages, regulates the water passages in the lower jiao. Urinary bladder 23. Shu. Kidney Shu. Location on the back 1.5 tsun, lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the second lumbar vertebra. Back-Shu point of the kidney. Functions: strengthens the kidneys, tonifies kidney yang, nourishes kidney yin and essence, strengthens kidney's ability to grasp qi, benefits the ears and bones, strengthens the low back, resolves dampness. Bladder 23 is one of the most effective points to tonify the kidneys. Needling, perpendicular insertion, 0.5 to 1 tsun. Like all the Back-Shu points, Shu has a direct connection with the associated zang. The kidneys are the powerhouse of the body. They hold the potential for all we may manifest. In their duality, they graphically represent both yin and yang, from the interaction of which a being developed. And they remind one of the two aspects of the movement of water, the movement into the depths to fertilize the generation of life, and the distribution throughout the being of water. The kidneys protect our essence, the root of pre-heavenly essence, from which we gain our strength and our marrow. Essence is the foundation of the mind and consciousness. If essence is lacking or weak, the mind and body will struggle. There will be negativity, lack of determination, depression, an inability to initiate, speak, and act with wisdom, power, and profundity. Marrow grants us our upright posture. The kidneys generate our bones. Cleverness and ability stem from the kidneys. When kidney qi is deficient, the person can seem to collapse in on themselves, mentally and physically. Fatigue and forgetfulness, structural weakness, and fearfulness are just some of the ways this might manifest. Shu can be used to strengthen and nourish many aspects of kidney qi. Bladder 23 nourishes kidney yin and strengthens and warms kidney yang. Deficiency of kidney yang can lead to coldness of the limbs and bones. Deficient kidney qi can lead to coldness of the uterus, infertility, irregular menstruation. Bladder 23 nourishes blood via the kidney's role in the formation of blood. Urinary bladder 25. Da Chang Shu. Large intestine Shu. On the back, 1.5 tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the fourth lumbar vertebra. Back-Shu point of the large intestine. Functions: regulates the large intestines, strengthens the low back, removes obstructions from the meridian. Bladder 25 is very good for either diarrhea or constipation. It is also very effective local point for low back pain. Needling, perpendicular insertion, 0.5 to 1 tsun. When the large intestine is in balance, we negotiate transitions in our life, retaining what was of value from the past, and our experience is transformed. Our mind is capable of making distinctions and maintaining connections and balance. When we lose the natural rhythm of peristalsis in our thinking or feelings, our outlook is poisoned. Our spirit gets bogged down. Life seems tarnished and empty. Suspicion and negativity dog us. We become close to new experience because we are bunched up, feeling all the slights and injustices of the past. This toxicity can show on our skin as dinginess or boils. The person may constantly look to external situations or material possessions to compensate themselves for the quality in life for which they yearn. Bladder 25 tonifies and regulates the large intestines. This point promotes the functioning of the large intestine and can be used in all bowel problems, whether constipation or diarrhea, as well as chronic disease of the large intestine. Where there is abdominal distension, pain, or fullness from imbalance in the functioning of the large intestine, stagnation, heat, damp, this point can help alleviate discomfort. Bladder 25 strengthens the lumbar region and legs, used as a local point for all backache in the region and prolapse of the anus. Urinary bladder 27, Xiao Chang Shu, small intestine Shu, in the region of the sacrum, 1.5 tsun lateral to the middle sacral crest at the level of the first posterior sacral foramen. Back-Shu point of the small intestine. Functions: promotes the functions of the small intestine, resolves dampness and damp heat, benefits urination. Needling, perpendicular or oblique insertion, 0.8 to 1.2 tsun. Our ability to discriminate, to extract goodness from situations, and determine which particular thing we want amidst the minutiae of life, and to see life from an uncontaminated perspective, needs the small intestine official to be in good balance. When this is not the case, a sense of muddle is often experienced both by the individual and those trying to follow their train of thought. Perspectives can become poisoned and silt invade body, mind, and spirit. This can result in trying, muddled encounters, punctuated by stinging comments, as the frustration of the person failing to communicate clearly grows. Or someone might become overly focused and fastidious in some regard, but overlook other areas altogether. Thought can become disjointed, the rhythm of communication interrupted, and irritation simmer. The functioning of the small intestine is not only about separating and discarding waste, but also separating and absorbing the clear, accepting, assimilating that which is useful and empowering to life, and thereby providing a suitably pure environment for the heart. Bladder 27 strengthens this capacity. It promotes the functioning of the small intestine. Part of the function of the small intestine is to separate and drain the turbid from the pure. It is paired with the bladder as Taiyang in the 6 divisions, and thus bladder 27 is applicable to urinary problems. Its ability to drain damp and damp heat makes it applicable in situations of diarrhea, damp heat in the intestines, heat in the intestines leading to constipation or mucus in the bowels, hemorrhoids, and pain. Bladder 27 moistens the intestines, facilitating their functioning. It can also drain damp and damp heat from the bladder. Bladder 27 relieves sacral pain and lower abdominal pain from pain of the small intestine. If the small intestine has been vexed through poor diet, stagnation, or a stock pathogen. Urinary bladder 28. Back-Shu. Bladder Shu. In the region of the sacrum, 1.5 tsun, lateral to the middle sacral crest, at the level of the second posterior sacral foramen. Back-Shu point of the urinary bladder. Functions: regulates the bladder, resolves dampness and damp heat, removes stagnation, opens the water passages. Bladder 28 is commonly used for urinary complications. Needling, perpendicular or oblique insertion, 0.8 to 1.2 tsun. Water is essential to life. When we doubt our survival, fear scatters our ability to function effectively. The bladder has enormous range and influence in the body, and bladder 28 addresses this directly. As with all the Back-Shu points, this point provides a direct connection to the Fu. It strengthens and regulates the bladder and helps it maintain its proper functioning of storing fluids and separating them through qi transformation, excreting wastewater appropriately. If wastewater is not excreted as urine, functioning at many levels will be thrown off. If the water of the body, mind, spirit is not pure or well regulated, thoughts and feelings can become stagnant, worry, suspicious, and toxic. The bladder excretes but also stores and recirculates what is usable. It is concerned with both the volume and quality of liquids, as both aspects are essential for survival. This point expels dampness from the bladder and lower jiao and is used in retention of urine, cloudy urine, and difficult urination. As it promotes urination, it can be used to promote the expulsion of damp heat from the lower jiao. Bladder 28 clears heat and therefore can be used for burning on urination. Strengthens the lower back, legs and knees, sacrum. Regulates, tonifies, and harmonizes the bladder, opens the water passages in the lower jiao. Promotes urination, resolves damp, clears heat, stops pain, eliminates stagnation, strengthens the loins. In addition to these points, there are a few others which are situated on the bladder channel, very close to the back transporting points but are not related to organs. They are related to parts of the body or channels. And these are bladder 16, bladder 17, bladder 24, bladder 26, bladder 29, and bladder 30. Urinary bladder 16. Du Shu, governing Shu. On the back, 1.5 tsun, lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 6th thoracic vertebra. Back-Shu point of the Du vessel. Functions: invigorates the blood, opens the chest, regulates the qi in chest and abdomen. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. Here on the bladder meridian is the governor correspondence point. Duma itself runs between the parallel meridians of the bladder, and this point echoes the resonances of Tumai. Tumai is associated with Yang and Qi in particular. The strength of Tumai is to support us, help us be present, stay upright, and assert ourselves in the world. Bladder 16 is a helpful point when there is symptomatology which indicates the Tumai governor vessel, or to use in addition to Tumai points. When someone has become downtrodden in spirit, lost their sparkle and abilities to shrug off the trials of life, this point can strengthen their resolve and enhance their opportunity to live their life fully rather than a shrunken, shriveled version. High boost, its alternate name, indicates its rousing qualities. Machocha states that it regulates the heart and invigorates the blood. Located just below the Back-Shu point of the heart, the invigorating effect of Tu Shu affects the area of the heart, moving stasis and thus expanding and relaxing the chest when there is pain. It benefits the diaphragm. Able to affect the heart area in this way, and given the intimate relationship of the heart with the blood, it can be used to invigorate or clear heat from the blood. Hence its use when there are skin diseases with either blood deficiency aspects, itching or heat in the blood, boils. Regulates the qi in the chest and abdomen. It will affect the opposite region on the front of the body and so can be used for stagnation, pain and deficiency in the upper epigastric area. Urinary bladder 17. Ganshu, diaphragm Shu. On the back, 1.5 tsun, lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 7th thoracic vertebra. Back-Shu point of the diaphragm. Converging point of blood. Functions: invigorates the blood, cools the blood, nourishes the blood, stops bleeding, descends rebellious qi, harmonizes the diaphragm, calms the shen. Urinary bladder 17 is a very important point to treat any blood-related conditions. Since it's the Back-Shu of the diaphragm, it is also an important point to treat conditions related to diaphragmatic problems such as hiccups and shortness of breath. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. Blood deficiency, whether from undernourished blood, sadness, or blood loss, disturbs the residence and harmony of the shen. When blood is insufficient or of poor quality, it is hard to enter fully into life. We feel disembodied and insecure, fretting and restless in our mind and spirit, as the shen find no place of comfort in which to rest. Blood and qi are an equal couple, the body and shadow, and bladder 17, found in the region of the heart, the place where the transformation of nutritious liquids into red blood occurs, is an excellent point to maintain the blood. As the Hui gathering point, It nourishes and invigorates the blood, facilitating flow. Restored and fortified, the Shen can regain calm and equilibrium. Ga-Shu tonifies qi and blood, clears heat from blood, and generates fluids. Bladder 17 has a general tonifying effect on the qi and blood of the entire body, and moxa is used for this. When used to nourish the blood, bladder 17 is usually moxad. It is needled when there is stasis of blood. It can be combined with bladder 19, and this combination is known as the four flowers. An alternative combination to tonify qi and blood is the Magnificent Six, bladder 17 with bladder 18 and bladder 20. With stagnation of qi and blood or severe blood deficiency, the person can feel weak and disorientated. Their behavior can be erratic, manic, or depressed. If stasis turns to heat, the Shen will be agitated, anxious, or extreme in behavior as the heart spirit loses control. Disharmony from heat in the blood can result in coughing or spitting blood, nosebleed, hemorrhage. The blood is overheated and recklessly bursts from the vessels. Bladder 17 affects the opposite area of the body, so it can open the chest. It removes obstructions from the diaphragm. Being the Back-Shu point for the diaphragm and lying between the middle and upper jaw, it can help regulate the movement of qi between them. It invigorates the diaphragm, moving qi and strengthening deficiency in this area. Stuffiness of the chest, belching, hiccups, difficulty ingesting, fullness in the epigastrium. Asthma, cough, back pain, spinal stiffness, hiatus hernia. It also descends rebellious qi and so can be used for vomiting. Urinary bladder 24. Qi Hai Shu. Sea of Qi Shu. On the back, 1.5 tsun, lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the third lumbar vertebra. Functions: strengthens the low back, removes obstructions from the meridian. Needling, perpendicular insertion, 0.5 to 1 tsun. Bladder 24 is located directly behind Ren 6, Sea of Qi. It is named for its location and similar, though less potent properties. It is used to tonify qi and blood. It also strengthens the lower back and knees and is used as a local point. Bladder 24 removes obstructions from the channel and is used in lower extremity paralysis, regulates the qi and blood and moves stasis, and so is used in deficiency conditions of irregular painful menstruation or uterine bleeding. Also used for hemorrhoids. Urinary bladder 26. Quan Yuan Shu. Origin gate Shu. On the back, 1.5 tsun, lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the fifth lumbar vertebra. Functions: strengthens the low back, removes obstructions from the meridian. Needling, perpendicular insertion, 0.8 to 1.2 tsun. This is an area that contains several gate points. Traversing the front of the body, Ren 4 and 5 are first gate and stone gate, respectively. Du 4 is gate of life. Origin pass, an alternative name for bladder 26, reminds one of the nature of the energetic work of this area. Guanyuan first gate on the bladder meridian negotiates the territory between the sacrum and the lumbar vertebrae. As any hinge or gate, it needs to move freely within its designated territory, otherwise stagnation and blockage occurs. First gate can free up this gate in this fundamental energetic region and, as its name implies, accesses a deep level of qi with which to tonify the area. Strengthens the lower back, removes obstructions from the channel. Problems of the lower jaw: frequent urination, incontinence, abdominal distension, diarrhea. Local point for chronic low back ache, often tender upon palpation and can be needled if tender. Especially good for lumbar pain from external pathogenic attack which has lodged in the channels of the back. Urinary bladder 29. Chong Lu Shu. Central spine Shu. In the region of the sacrum, 1.5 Sun lateral to the middle sacral crest at the level of the third posterior sacral foramen. Function: strengthens the lower back, dispels cold, relieves diarrhea. Needling, perpendicular insertion 1 to 1.5 Sun. Middle of the backbone correspondence. Bladder 29 is indicated for pain in the back and spine, particularly when there is pain and stiffness in the muscles on both sides of the spine. Benefits the low back, dispels wind and cold, warms yang, circulates the qi. Urinary bladder 30. Bai Huan Shu. White ring Shu. In the region of the sacrum, 1.5 Sun lateral to the middle sacral crest at the level of the fourth posterior sacral foramen. Functions: benefits the lower back, regulates menstruation. Needling, perpendicular insertion 1 to 1.5 Sun. This point is mostly used for its local effects within the whole lower abdominal and sacral area. It has an effect on the anus, uterus, genital area, and sacrum. Regulates menstruation and the uterus. Local point for the low back. Ellis, Weisman, and Boss explain that white ring in Taoist metaphysics refers to the area of the body where essence is stored and through which the bladder meridian passes via this point and which also connects with the anus. Now we go to the outer Back-Shu points. These are the 6 outer points on the outer line of the bladder channel on the back, which are also particularly important. Urinary bladder 42. Poa Hu. Poa door. On the back, 3 Tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the third thoracic vertebra. Functions: descends rebellious lung qi, relieves cough, activates the meridian, alleviates pain. Bladder 42 is the outer Back-Shu of the lung. Its special feature is that it helps treat the psychological spiritual aspect of the lung, so it is generally used to treat prolonged sadness and grief. Needling, oblique insertion 0.5 to 0.8 Sun. Located on a level with the Back-Shu point of the lungs, soul door, Poa Hu, relates to the Po, the corporeal soul, the spirit of the lungs, which is the most material aspect of the soul and responsible for the automatic rhythmic maintenance of life. Breathing which happens without us consciously regulating it, is an aspect of this, as is the awareness of sensations. The po is affected strongly by feelings of grief and sadness, which constrain its natural movement, over-constricting the inspiration of qi, diminishing lung qi, and the revitalization of the body, mind, and spirit. The po associate with essences and the descending movement, whether the descending of the lung qi, cough asthma, or elimination, or the exiting of the po at death. Soul door can profoundly influence both the spirit of the metal and the lung and serve to reconnect the person with their instinctual and intuitive self, with what they value in life, with discovering the preciousness and quality of their life. Bladder 42 can strengthen this aspect of the person, which may be weakened through illness, exhaustion, deficient lung qi, grief, oppression in the chest. Use when the spirit has lost its appreciation of life and needs inspiration. This point can revive the spirit, opening this soul door to a fresh perception and greater animation and feeling of connection with life. Moksha to bring warmth and relaxation to soul door, unless there is severe lung yin deficiency. Tonifies and harmonizes lung functioning. Regulates qi, stimulates the descending of lung qi. Clears heat, subdues rebellious qi. This point can be used to regulate and send lung qi downwards, used for cough and asthma. Used locally to alleviate pain of the upper back and shoulders. It is often tender on pressure. Urinary bladder 43. Kao Wang. The vitals. On the back, 3 tune lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 4th thoracic vertebra. Functions: nourishes lung yin, tonifies qi, and strengthens the body, nourishes essence. Bladder 43 is unique in that it tonifies the qi of the whole body and strengthens weak and deficient people. Using moksha on this point works well. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. A great tonic point for exhaustion, general deficiency, chronic illness. The region described by the name Kao Wang is the space between the heart and the diaphragm where chronic or incurable disease is said to lodge. It is particularly indicated for moksha. Up to 50 may be used, and no disease is said to be beyond its reach. It tonifies the qi of the whole body and is said to affect the kidney essence and original qi, thus helping mental functioning, memory, stamina, and the functioning of all the organs. Being found at the level of the heart and heart protector, it has a relationship with the blood. It strengthens the lungs. It enriches the blood and qi and hence the vitality of the body, mind, and spirit. It brings warmth to every level as well as strength. A great point for the circulation and for those who feel cold and shut off emotionally. Good for dispelling mental and physical feebleness. When someone has little capacity for intimacy and humor because they are too depleted or too vulnerable, rich for the vitals, lifts the spirit. According to tradition, this point was popularized by the great medieval practitioner Hua Tuo, who named it the chronic illness point. Tonifies lung, heart, kidneys, spleen, stomach, and pericardium. Bladder 43 nourishes yin, clears heat, calms the spirit, enhances kidney essence, original qi, resolves phlegm. Urinary bladder 44. Shen Tong, Spirit Hall. On the back, 3 Tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 5th thoracic vertebra. Functions: activates the meridian, frees the chest, calms the Shen. Bladder 44 is the outer Back-Shu of the heart. Its special feature is that it helps treat the psychological spiritual aspect of the heart. It is usually used to treat anxiety, insomnia, and depression. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 Tsun. Located on a level with bladder 15, the Back-Shu point of the heart. Bladder 44 accesses the place where the spirits of the heart, the Shen, reside. In health, the Shen radiate through our eyes, our complexion, and in the condition of the blood. Shen informs our intelligence and our appropriate responses to situations. Spirit hall, where the spirit of the heart may be approached, is mostly used when the mind and spirit are disturbed by anxiety, deep lack of joy, and loss of enthusiasm for life, insomnia, blood deficiency, heartbreak, and heart problems. If the person is left in a state of heart shock, defeated with no protection, if the Shen are disturbed, then this point can restore the role of overseeing and control to the heart, restore the calm necessary for the Shen to reside in the heart, and encourage the person to participate in and feel the richness of life. It clears the mind and consciousness. On a physical level, it expands and relaxes the chest, invigorates the meridian, and eases pain. Urinary bladder 47. Hun Men, door of the ethereal soul. On the back, 3 Tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 9th thoracic vertebra. Functions: regulates liver qi, activates the meridian, alleviates pain. Bladder 47 is the outer Back-Shu of the liver. Its special feature is that it helps treat the psychological spiritual aspect of the liver. It is usually used to treat depression, frustration, and stress. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 Tsun. Located level with the Back-Shu point of the liver. Bladder 47 is used for deep imbalance and disturbance related to the liver, depression, resentment, and anger. Use when the liver has become uprooted, lost vision, or been thwarted in its path. By rooting the ethereal soul, the spirit aspect of the liver, it allows the person to direct their life and activate all the aspects of the role of the liver necessary for growth, planning, and structure and hope. Spiritual soul gate is an energetically dynamic point, which can stir and regenerate the spirit of the liver, the Hun, which are attracted to heaven. The ability to push thought to its limit and benevolence are all influenced by this point. The Hun influence our ability to imagine and plan. Spiritual soul gate can help steady the person, who flounders around with no sense of direction in life, whose general of the armed forces, liver official, is not in control. The natural movement of the liver is to thrust upward and outwards. Depression and resignation in the liver are contrary to this and can be experienced as intense, interior, and isolating. Bladder 47 activates the zang, or organ, and can clear toxicity and move stagnation of qi. By rooting the ethereal soul, the hun, it can help those who suffer with vague feelings of fear at night or who have a sense of leaving their body just as they fall asleep. Reaching to the root and depths of the liver, it activates and cleanses the liver physically and mentally from grudges, despair, and bitterness. Regulates liver qi, roots the ethereal soul, harmonizes the middle jiao, benefits the sinews. Urinary bladder 49. Yi Sha. Reflection abode. On the back, 3 tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the 11th thoracic vertebra. Regulates the spleen and stomach, clears damp heat. Bladder 49 is the outer Back-Shu of the spleen. Its special feature is that it helps treat the psychological spiritual aspect of the spleen. Therefore, it can be used to treat memory, overthinking, or obsessive thinking. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. Reflection or thought abode or dwelling particularly tonifies the mind and spirit of the spleen. Memory, concentration, and the capacity for study. It can be used for obsessive thought, feebleness in mental processing, stagnation, and lack of penetrative thinking. Isha can activate aspects of spleen functioning to reinvigorate thought. The E is the consciousness of possibilities, the highest transformative aspect of thought. The spleen, when well, allows us to understand, grasp, and work sequentially along a passage of thought. From deep thought comes knowing. Bladder 49 penetrates this deep level of the working of the spleen. Consider when the mind is stuck in a groove, unable to deliver nourishment or thought to the next level. When the spleen is imbalanced, transportation from the mind and spirit, from the center of the person to the exterior, can become stuck and lumpen, or conversely, the person may not be able to hold to their own center and ideas. A wonderfully revitalizing point for Earth, regulates and tonifies spleen, stimulates memory and concentration, clears damp heat. Shu, willpower chamber. Location on the lower back, 3 tsun lateral to the lower border of the spinous process of the second lumbar vertebra. Functions, tonifies the kidneys, benefits urination, strengthens the low back. Bladder 52 is the outer Back-Shu of the kidney. Its special feature is that it helps treat the psychological spiritual aspect of the kidney. It is usually used to strengthen willpower. Needling, oblique insertion, 0.5 to 0.8 tsun. Bladder 52 is level with the Back-Shu point of the kidney. This point strengthens the function of the kidney and its areas of responsibility. Strengthening the kidney, it also enhances the functioning of its mind and spirit. If fear, fright, or exhaustion have deeply depleted the kidney, there may be depression with no will to recover, and the natural ever onward impulse of the kidney is lost. Bladder 52 is appropriate when fear is holding someone back from carrying out their ambition, or conversely, to contain the relentless ruthlessness of unbound aspiration. If someone has forgotten they even had a dream, Bladder 52 can spark the remembrance of aspiration for them. Bladder 52 can regenerate the body, mind, and spirit for someone who needs the refreshment that sparkling water can impart, who needs to rediscover a sense of determination. The water element is about endurance, survival, wisdom. When these qualities are lacking, when it is as easy for the person to give up as to carry on, this can be a great point to reawaken the urge to continue and see through the authentic destiny of one's life. Bladder 52 can be used to firm kidney chi where there is incontinence and strengthen the low back, which is under the domain of the kidney. The point will often be tender on palpation in low back ache. Strengthens the lumbar area, regulates the water passages. Thank you very much for your attention. See you on our next videos.